I slipped. I made sure that I found a way through a cloud of haze. Every day I wept, found how to live through all them cloudy days. You know the mind's a maze with all its mixtures. It's always hard to get the entire scope of the picture. 1080p, that's you other busters, yeah, obsolete. Can't fuck with me, excuse my French, but I'm not discreet. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I've learned my lesson. I learned 1996 birth, one of the greatest weapons untold. I'm destined to reach heights thought I could never see, but foolish thoughts rampage my heart and let me not reach the peaks that's entrusted to me. My belief shatter of past actions. I grieve, but grievance never really matter. It's how I choose to act differently in the coming battles to overcome my limitations and get out my shadow. But it's hard to wade in this water, but it was never shallow. Fuck it, let me get the paddles. Fuck that now, let me get this castle. Fuck that now, let me get this battle.
You can start. We can't hear you.
I had myself muted. My bad, y'all. My bad. We back up in this thing again. Squad Nero with another intermission. Special, super duper special intermission. As we have just been blessed with a beautiful first 2 episodes of a fan beloved Daredevil from Marvel Studios. We're coming with y'all with this intermission just to give y'all our quick thoughts on these first 2 episodes. Everybody's given at least like 3 thoughts, what really stood out to them, and then like a little quick synopsis of how they feel about that so far. So if anybody wants to start real quick, y'all can.
Yeah. So my take on it, these first 2 episodes, top tier, honestly. It was a great way to pick up from where it left off from the Netflix series. It's kind of sad that we won't be able to see Foggy or Karen going forward. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
We don't know that. We don't know that though.
But spoiler alert, we know that they will be like, they're only keeping Charlie Cox from the Netflix series, so they had a good way of them being written off.
But we don't know. We don't know yet. This is still only 2 episodes.
Okay, like I said, they had a good way of picking back up where they left off at. It started off with a bang. It was crazy. Without really spoiling too much.
We gotta spoil it.
Yeah,
so,
you already did that.
Do I have a green light? Do I have a green light?
Yeah.
You got a green. Yeah,
Hey.
the green light.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, the death. The death of Foggy Nelson, like it was like a bold move for them to pull that. But it was crazy how they brought back Bullseye from season 3 to pretty much lead into this. How Foggy's he was holding on to someone, a key witness, which when you're watching everything that develops, at first it takes you a second to realize that it is Bullseye until certain moments happen in the scene to make you say, okay, that's Bullseye. And when he comes firing in before Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock takes on his helm of switching his costume to being the Daredevil, you see him start hitting everybody, and you see him catch Foggy one good time. In that moment, you see like a whole bunch of chaos and Matt Murdock going back and forth with Bullseye. Like it seemed like it was like a teetering battle, but no one really caught the upper hand because you'll see Bullseye constantly hitting him, but at least Matt Murdock is trying to get the upper hand, fighting back, and they're going up, they're going up, they're going up, and then once Matt hears his best friend's heartbeat cease to exist, he takes a moment and tosses Bullseye off the daggone building. I ain't gonna lie, I laughed at that one because I was not expecting that. But at the same time, you could see when Karen is sitting there holding that wound, trying to keep it in place, she looks back and she thinks it's her friend Matt because she knows that he's Daredevil, and looks back and sees that it's the gentleman that came through trying to pretty much check everybody out. And as that goes on, you see like Matt starts going through like a moral dilemma. Like he stops being Daredevil for a full year, and it's like they come. He's trying his best to just be a lawyer and do his thing. So you can see like there's a full change, but it's still something wrong with him, especially when he had to sit trial on the murder case of Foggy's death for Bullseye. Um, and even in that scene, you can see his monologue when he like pauses for a second and he realizes his best friend's not going to be here no more, and there won't be justice for him because he can't go back to see his friend after the case is over. Like his friend's gone, so Bullseye needs to get the full extent of the law. Even though we know Matt Murdock could have took it upon his hands to end Bullseye. You also get to see Wilson Fisk rise to power because he ends up becoming the mayor of New York in the first 2 episodes, getting the signatures that he needs to be able to run for mayor, and he eventually wins. Honestly, it just gave a lot of similarities to Trump, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not about to get full into politics, but it really gave a mirroring effect. a felon becoming a like some elected official. At some point we see like Karen leave and she comes back, but then she tells Matt that pretty much she's trying to move on with life with everything, even though it's like they can't really talk to each other anymore. But then you get to see like the moment leading into episode 2 where we get introduced to White Tiger, who's another vigilante who donned the vigilante mantle since Daredevil stepped away. In his everyday Joe Schmo outfit, not being in White Tiger, he pretty much stops these cops from fighting this local individual, but ends up accidentally taking one of those cops out, and now he's on trial. Matt takes on the trial, and it leads down to a spiraling downward pool of corrupted cops, and you can see literally at the tail end that Matt sees that he has to become Daredevil again, and he lets off like a giant yell like he's Goku about to go Super Saiyan, because he literally comes to the grips that he was literally trying to fall back out of that persona, but he was forced to get back into it in that scene. Granted, he was not in costume when it occurred. Overall, like these first 2 episodes started off with a smash. It was literally like watching a movie from start of episode 1 to the ending of episode 2. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. We have 7 more weeks of this for 9 more episodes. Overall, like every moment had its own little slight where it's like, yo, they doing their thing with this show. Disney's television series actually is back for the MCU. And that's my take.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I would say 3 things that really stuck out to me. Definitely the choreography. I like how the fight scenes were really fleshed out, but it wasn't like, how when sometimes we're watching a fight scene and it's like you've got someone fighting and someone just standing around bullshitting until, the main character is able to throw a punch and then they're in the scene. But that fight with him and Bullseye was like every 2 seconds, Bullseye was throwing a dagger or something. Daredevil was swinging around his nunchucks, whatever you call them. And then it was like they run up the stairs and they fight. And then just showing Daredevil how he maneuvers throughout the city, like throughout rooftops. I like the scene where he figured out that it was Foggy who was in trouble and he was running back to go save him. And it was just like, I really like the action and the suspense. That's one thing. I would say the pacing too for the story. I like how they jumped the year, and it's like the Kingpin's running for mayor, then he wins. It's like things are picking up pretty quickly, and you show the effects of what's been happening since Matt hasn't been Daredevil, and how some people want the vigilantes, some people actually need them and they feel safer with them. Other people are like, no, they're actually just lunatics that are going around fighting people and taking justice into their own hands. So I do like that. I do like that a lot. And thirdly, I would say one thing I do like is actually that we aren't going to get Karen that much, because it's like Matt focusing on, what's going on in Hell's Kitchen. He's not really tied down, but I mean, he is dating that other girl. But I feel like his focus as being Daredevil isn't going to be too tied down emotionally. Like he has to worry about too many people he's going to care about. So with Foggy gone and his main girl gone, it's like he can be full on Matt and full on Daredevil. But that's what I like about it.
Croco, what about you?
Yeah, my 3 points. I definitely agree with the choreography. I do love the fight scenes. So far, I thought that they were really great to be able to get that in the first like 15 minutes. To be able to just get as much as we were able to get in that first 15 minutes. I think that it sets a good precedent for the rest of the season. I do like how the second point that I'll make is I do like how the story more or less seems to be progressing coming from the Netflix series. We do know that some other things happen with Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, and other series that have already aired on Disney Plus. I like how they're kind of transitioning over that character. Vincent D'Onofrio does a. My apologies if I'm messing up the pronunciation of that name, but I really do enjoy his take on Kingpin. It's a standout performance to me, one that I would put next to some of the best comic book character live action iterations that we've seen. One of the parts that I really loved about this is they're not going with necessarily the wide Kingpin that we're used to. It doesn't look like they asked Vincent D'Onofrio if he could put on any like weight or anything for the role just to kind of like make that bigger. Wilson Fisk, they're kind of focusing on a more leaner, muscular Wilson Fisk, which I think fits a lot better for the mayor role, because we're going to see him more or less in a political light than we are necessarily in physical or combatant light. So I thought that was a nice little twist to add on the character, but I do think that he is an amazing standout in the Daredevil series and in the larger MCU. My third point is just going to be overall characters. What's nice about this is that now with it being over on Disney Plus, these characters are free game now as well. So seeing the costumes done well, seeing how the only costume I didn't like was Wilson Fisk, but I mean he just wears a suit. How much can you complain about that? It's not really something that I feel like you can complain about, but some of the suits that we've seen so far, Bullseye probably could be in that realm as well. They might be a little bit more tamer with that, but still, just knowing that these characters are now open for the larger MCU and that they're trying to introduce newer characters, not only heroes but also new characters that could also just be general civilians in the MCU. Really excited to see how that unfolds and how that continues throughout the series. But everything about it just seemed like a great trajectory for the actual television side of Marvel and the MCU and Disney Plus, from the content that we get from that. I think it's a great start. Hopefully there's enough that could be built off of that we can kind of continue this and polish the execution and form of everything going forward. I got one point that I do want to actually add to those three. Those are my three like positives. I just got one negative. It's not terrible, but the cinematography, I don't love it so far from what we've seen. I do wish that they had more angles that were kind of pushed out a little bit more. I wish that they used a better color palette and color scaling. Something that we've seen better from the Warner Brothers side of the comic book movies and iterations. I would love to see some of those efforts kind of be ushered in, but I do feel like just from the overall storytelling that we are getting from this, and the overall effort that we're getting from this Daredevil series, there is a potential that we could possibly see those things pushed more in the future, and I'm very excited by that. That's all I got.
All right. My three is obviously oh my goodness. Choreography. Jeez Louise. Choreography, top 10. We could obviously tell with that. They showed that within the first episode, not too far into the episode. And they gave us kind of like that their equivalent of a hallway scene from the older Daredevil shows. But this one was a lot more expansive. I think the second one, I actually like the cinematography. I like how they switch things. I like how sometimes they make the scene so intimate based off what lens or how they actually capture the scene. We see how the actual scene gets closer when we change to actually sharing the same view as Matt Murdock when he's using his powers and he's actually hearing stuff. You see that the scene gets a little bit closer so that you're getting more intimate. You're understanding that more. It gets you more on your seat type of thing. I kind of like that a lot. I also like the subtle things that they do. It just works with the people that create this Daredevil show or have created this Daredevil show and have worked on this show. It could be the most simple or trivial of things, but how they slide it in, how they slide in White Tiger so effortlessly and then bring him full circle into the story. Pause if it was needed. I seen T. How effortless, although it was a little jarring, and I am seeing some people saying that they feel like it was too soon. But if you already watched the first 3 seasons of the Daredevil show, then you would have already been emotionally attached to Foggy. This is just a continuation of that type of thing. But some people were like, well, they should have made us read because it was 7 years ago and everything like that. I was like, I technically don't have an issue with it. How they play on the aspects of how Matt Murdock starts his day and how Kingpin starts his day, how they play on the color scheme and how Daredevil is walking through the streets after Wilson Fisk leaves, and you have the red flashing on the side of his face, signaling that this nigga has to come back soon, in which he ends up doing. It's those subtle things, and Kingpin mentioning a dude in a spider suit. Immediately, I am infatuated with those aspects of this show, and I am honestly super intrigued about where it's taken us so far, especially with the character Muse. But those are my top three as well. Did you have anything else to add?
I was gonna say, Naya, one thing. Vincent, the guy that plays Kingpin, he actually wore like a fat suit when he played Kingpin. I saw like some behind the scenes. Like, I guess they didn't use it or something. But
Okay.
I was like, he looked way slimmer than what he did, on a Netflix series. I guess this is just to differentiate from that. I guess.
And
Also,
to kind of go to my fault, Sage, just real quick, because it kind of goes off of the last point that you made and that point that D just made. This I do agree. There are subtleties that I do enjoy, like the idea of them saying, "Okay, well, we will have something that can signify a clear change from the fat suit Vincent D'Onofrio and this mayor Wilson Fisk." It might be little, it might not seem like much to people, but those are things that we haven't necessarily gotten from the content in the MCU. So it is nice to see that. Also, on the cinematography side, another thing that I will say, not a negative but a positive. I do agree with you. The subtle things that they do in certain transitions, the approach of having the BBB journalist kind of segment. In that these are things that we have not seen done by the MCU, so it is very refreshing to see them doing new things like that. And I do want to say, despite some of the grievances that I do have for the cinematography, I do 100% agree with Sage on the subtleness and how we're getting that and how they're bringing that into the show. I think that is being very experimental, and I like the execution of it so far.
So
I think.
go ahead,
Oh, my bad. Real quick.
Go ahead, Sage.
I think parts of the fight, for some odd reason, some parts of the fight looked super CGI. I think somebody brought it up in the group chat, and I also was feeling that. So I can understand where your gripe is with some of the things that they were doing. That shit did kind of piss me off a little bit. But also to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio real quick with the fat suit, he actually, which is a spoiler alert, obviously we know eventually he's going back to Kingpin, but eventually that fat suit will be coming back into play. He did say that his character will gain weight throughout the show. So we'll see his descent. We've seen how he was eating healthy, which was low key something that they just slid under there, and we didn't put two and two together until we seen his body frame and was like, oh, he's a little bit slimmer. but eventually he's gonna start diving into those
Which
negative.
and that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
honestly, that's the cool thing about the character development, because he did explain I went away and I had to really work on
Mhm.
myself. So
Hmm.
them saying, for one, mentally he had to work on himself, but also physically you can see that he worked on himself.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Little things
one,
like that, yeah.
the other cool thing about it is I like that scene where the reporter had 5 minutes and
Hmm.
she was going in to the point where you can see that she was challenging him.
Yeah.
Like, if so many people
Did,
that's scared of Kingpin. Wait, what's up?
do you know the meta between her and him right now?
Nah, I really don't. What am I missing here?
You remember she brought up her uncle in there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ben Urich
Her uncle was strangled by by Kingpin in one of the
in the
earlier seasons.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Yes.
realize that.
Yep,
Yes.
Ben Urich. Yep, that's a fact.
Oh yeah,
When
that is
he,
right.
watch that part again real quick,
When
and
he
if you see
asked,
her reaction,
yeah,
yeah, when you see her reaction when he said that he knew about her uncle, she was like, "What the?" It was kind of like a little reaction, a little tidbit. Tap in with, it. But did you had something else, right?
yeah, and also when they do actually make a mention of when Wilson Fisk is giving an announcement or his speech about vigilantes, saying, "Oh, if one, they made a mention of Punisher, they made a mention of Daredevil, and Spider-Man." My question is, do you think Spider-Man makes a slight cameo near season 2? Maybe like they'll see a silhouette of
No,
him somewhere.
no. If they have a cameo scene, what's his name? Daredevil is joining Spider Man, not the other way around.
Well,
Tom
not
Holland costs
well.
too
My
much
thing is,
money.
okay, I get it that he costs way too much money, but what if they already shot this, or it's like a ending cutscene for either season 1 or season 2, leading in to the next Spider-Man movie that we're supposed to be getting in 2027? At least like a hint where we know Kingpin might be in that movie, possibly from rumors and stuff, and we know Daredevil might be in there. And with him actually saying that, oh, if you wear like a spider suit or something, he already represents Spider-Man. So there's a good chance we might get some cutscene that they already shot, where, or they take the last film of him webbing through New York City at the end of the movie. Take that, change the angle a little bit, and just show him like swinging through. Do something like subtle like that. Use a little AI generation. They don't really need Tom Holland. They just make a CGI version of Spider-Man just swinging through. He don't have to say nothing.
If that piss fans off, OD.
You think so?
I don't
Yeah,
think
if they
so.
just show like a silhouette of him and not actually show him,
But the
what was
thing
the purpose
is,
of
it
showing
would
him
be,
if he wasn't gonna
but
show
it
him?
would be a cutscene. It's not in the show. Like
Yeah,
an
no, but
cutscene of
still,
the end of the season.
but
As like,
still,
I
that's
can
like
see
you
that.
tugging. That's like you tugging at folks' leg. That's like
but we
that's
know
the ending.
Daredevil.
But we
But
don't
we know,
need Tom Holland there for that, though.
you really
If
don't.
the
Yeah.
focus is on vigilantes, it's like if they show Spider Man, it's like he's part of that. They
Yes.
said the guy with the spider suit. Showing Tom
Yeah.
Holland is
I
cool and
understand
all,
what
but
y'all
You
saying,
can show Spider-Man though.
but first of all, they have to contact Sony for Sony to even authorize
But
that
what if
shit.
they already did? That's what I'm saying. Like, if we know Kingpin's mayor, so Kingpin is going to have some moment in the new Spider-Man movie. Daredevil works with Spider-Man in the comics, so there's a good chance. Like, you don't even like D said, you don't need Tom Holland there. You can literally take a CGI version of that Spider-Man, have him web swinging like in the last like ending credits of season 2 for us to lead into, because season 2 drops what, next year?
yeah.
They
So
would
For
have
them to
had
shoot back to back and have that shit already
yeah, and
premiere next
have
year, they
him,
gotta have some type of cameo.
yeah. My thing is, have
I
him in the
understand.
end of season 2, leading into the Spider-Man movie.
When they
Little
do these
post-credit scene.
contracts, it's really no wiggle room with the contracts, especially with the superhero Jones.
So
Yeah, but
you're
it's like-
telling me, so
Specific
but
ones?
CGI, I can
Yeah,
understand if they
nothing
had
where
Tom
it's
Holland.
actually the actor.
You're still using his likeness though.
But you're not using his likeness. You're just using the suit. They already have to CGI him for most of these fights in the
He's
Spider-Man
still gonna
movies.
claim that's his likeness. When they go to court and they ask, "Who do you think is Spider-Man right now?" Everybody's gonna reply, "Tom Holland." So that's gonna be his likeness at that present point in time.
I don't know. I can
Or,
see it
or
though. I can
Sony's
if it's
likeness.
small enough.
Yeah,
If it's
like,
small enough, it's a
I
5
don't
to 10
think he need a
second
speaking
scene.
role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even think he needs to appear. To be honest with you, they could do a little subtle hint where people could connect the dots. That's what I expect them to do. I don't expect them to use Tom Holland in any shape, form, or capacity.
Well, he's
in
not
the
saying Tom
TV
Holland.
show.
He's saying Spider Man. Because I mean, we already the mention of a man in a spider suit. It don't have to really be like.
When we
It don't even
talking
have to
about
be.
Spider-Man, we talk about Tom Holland.
okay,
Right
here's
now.
the thing. Here's the thing. So
Yeah.
at the end of the Spider-Man movie, it was Christmas time when he was web swinging, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was snowing outside. If this movie leads to that time, let's say this is running parallel to the Spider-Man movie at some point, parallel, or they can just use that scene because that's time after the spell was done. MJ and what's
Ned.
that boy name? Ned, they're at MIT. Literally, you can have Daredevil standing on top of one of the buildings in Hell's Kitchen. Literally, look and you see Spider-Man off in the distance is web swinging. That's it, and then you end it. Boom. You can use a tiny little portion of him in the back corner of the screen. At least you know he's there. That's what I'm saying. Of course, you're gonna disagree with me, so go ahead.
I'm not gonna disagree. I mean, I always love a cameo, but I don't know if that would resonate well with the audience. We got to think about it here. Like, if
Rob, this is an
people,
audience that mainly be watching the movies and shit. You gotta realize everybody ain't gonna be like, no, I don't want to see Spider Man and Daredevil. When Daredevil appeared in the Spider Man
yeah,
movie,
but what
after
I'm
cameo,
what
niggas
I'm
was going
saying
crazy.
is, would niggas rather have a little cameo scene seeing Spider-Man in the background of Daredevil, or would you much rather have both of these niggas in the same vicinity?
Sure,
I
but
get
that
that.
could
I
work
get
for
that. But
movies.
this is a TV series, right? TV series. They're not going to have Tom Holland in the TV series. So have him as a cameo as a lead up to the movie with him and Daredevil in it, making it street level. That would be dope because we know it's coming. Us as viewers, we know it's coming. Just like when they had some of the cameos leading up with Infinity War. They didn't have Thanos really shown. You just saw his hand. You knew he was coming. Just something simple like that. Something very subtle for us to know. Oh snap! After season 2 of Daredevil, we don't know we get into season 3, but this could lead. Season 3 could be like Spider-Man 4. Daredevil's in there and they're taking on Kingpin.
Kind of like, is it kind of like
Spider-Man
that
4
cameo
released-
Batman had in the Teen Titans show? Damn near, we didn't have
Yeah.
a Batman cast in that shit, but they still showed like the silhouette and everything.
Yeah, like him on a rooftop, just a little rooftop swing to let you know, oh, that was Spider-Man there.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean,
Or-
listen, if it helped promote the movies, because that's the thing. Like, if it helped promote not just Spider-Man, but if it helps promote the movies that come after that, because they may need, maybe not for the first Avengers movie, and maybe for the second Avengers movie, but they might need a Daredevil appearance or some type of a role. They may need a more popular character to kind of push into there. And if you could do it via another popular character, i.e. Spider-Man, I wouldn't be mad at that. A 10-second cameo, a 10-second little cameo at a post-credit scene, I wouldn't be terribly mad at that, especially if you get all of the Defenders by the time the end of the series is at. It's like, all right, so you got a team that could assist Spider-Man, which could possibly play a larger role in the Avengers movies, let alone the Spider-Man movies. And it's not like they coming out of nowhere because they already had some type of an interaction. I wouldn't be upset at that.
I wouldn't either. I think they might just use it on some other characters that we haven't seen in a while. Because I don't necessarily think Spider-Man needs a cameo to boost the movie. I think people will already be excited about it. Me personally, but
Larger movie though, think Avengers too. You know what I'm saying? Like when you throw in the Avengers in there, it's like, what if there is a sequence
if I'm
where
being
it is
honest-
specifically highlighted with Spider-Man?
if I'm being honest, what a part of Daredevil's repertoire do I expect him to know about incursions? I'm gonna hit Earth if I'm
Not
being
now,
honest.
but when it affect them,
mean,
when stuff hit the
Shit,
fan.
look at the leader. That nigga talking about the Illuminati, and he
Nigga,
been
the leader
talking
is
about
one of the
percentages
smartest
for
niggas in
17
the
years.
earth. He's one of the smartest niggas on the earth.
Bro, all he did was talk about percentages. I'm not buying he one of the smartest niggas on earth.
In the comics, he technically is.
Yeah, but if it's a
The
moment,
comics
like
and
if
the
we don't
Rob
have an
stay saying
Avenger,
that shit in the comics, nigga. Technically,
but
we
think
see
about
him
it.
he mentioned two smart things in that movie.
But then, all right, just hear me out. Think about it from this perspective. We don't have an official Avengers team. It's likely gonna have to be something that's formed in one of the Avengers movies. We also don't have whatever is happening with this Young Avengers / Champions. Whatever happens with them is going to be an isolated segment of whatever happens in the Avengers movie. If there is a segment or a portion that is dedicated to Spider-Man, one of the more popular characters, one of the people that will get people in the seats, and I'm led to believe he will have some type of screen time in one of these Avengers movies to some extent. If he met by a larger problem, which is what would happen in an Avengers movie, and it's something where it's just Spider-Man, well then that's like, okay, well that's doomed to fail. But if you were to have Spider-Man, and then next thing you know, you see the Defenders pop up to give Spider-Man some level of an assist towards this larger threat that happens in the Avengers movie, would you be mad if they introduced the idea or they lit the flame of the idea of them having some knowledge of each other in a post-credit cameo scene for Daredevil? It's not the worst idea.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst. No.
There you go, T. I got him to say yes.
Thank you.
I'm weak. If I'm not nitpicking. I just don't think it'll happen. But nonetheless, we appreciate y'all again. Intermission. I don't even know what is it. Episode.
I don't know what it is. I just put intermission in the name.
I think it's intermission number 4 or 5.
Intermission number 4 or 5. All right. Squad Nero, Daredevil. Born Again episode 1 and 2 review. We'll be back with the full scale review on Sunday, so tap in. Please like and subscribe to the channel. If you're tapping in with us via Twitch, we appreciate you. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week, and peace.
These dreams on the road to riches, focus on the ticket, maximize my means. It's like now I'm just trying to flow. There's a couple holes up in this boat. Dose my mind just so I can grow. They focus on the dollar, feel like I'm a migrant, just touch a new island every time.